Redditors who have been on a reality TV show such as Hardcore Porn or Pimp My Ride or Porn Stars. How fake was it? There was a guy who did an AMA for being on Pimp My Ride. Apparently it's a lot of staged and forced reactions. Also for reality shows, especially when first being introduced into the show and camera appear in the person's home when they get introduced, so there can be an inside reaction. Do you think that is not staged? A lot of it is fakey fake. A guy did an AMA about being on Pimp My Ride. Everything done to the car was cosmetic. I believe his car didn't run before the show and didn't run after. Basically, a polished turd. Removed. Never been to the Porn Stars store, but one of my customers told me about going there. This must have been 4 years ago. They said they had to wait in line to go into the store, and they all pitched in $100 to have chummily come out from the back room. My cousin was involved in filming for The Bachelor, not a contestant, and said they film many scenes in several different ways. For example, they might film them cuddling while walking and then walking while looking annoyed and so on. Not that fake, but yeah. My uncle was on Porn Stars attempting to sell something. The item wasn't even his. He knew a guy who worked on the show. Deleted. I was on an Australian reality called Surprise Chef. The premise of the show was that the celebrity chef would meet someone at the supermarket and then cook dinner for them. On my episode I volunteered at an aquarium. The story in this episode was the chef met my boss at the supermarket, then cooked all the aquarium volunteers a nice surprise dinner. Of course this was all pre-arranged. There was no meeting by chance. We all knew what was happening, so for the scene we all got surprised in the shark tank. We knew what was happening and did 7 takes of fake surprise. The celebrity chef cooked nothing. He went in for a few takes and an actual chef cooked all the food while the CC stood outside chain smoking. The food was average, basically local RSL quality, chicken palmy and profiteroles. I think I drew the short straw of things you get in a reality show, a shitty meal. Others get like cars or renovation makeovers. Edit spelling. I was on a European version of Survivor where we went to an island and had to survive for 2 weeks. Whatever was seen on camera was what actually happening. The only fake thing is that we got some food to maintain a somewhat healthy diet. Back when I was a teen, our family was on a small segment on a UK show This Morning. There was some staging stuff, like there was just 3 guys on the crew and the presenter, so we'd repeat some things to get extra angles in. And yes, when people arrive at your house they've already been there a good hour setting up. One thing sticks with me was a bit where we'd all hop in the car then chastised as it's healthy to walk to the shop, so we get out and film walking down the street. Then cameras stop and we all bundle back in our cars and drive 20 minutes to the closest Tesco to film us arriving there from our walk. Not as glamorous as folks on Pimp My Ride, I guess, but even on the smaller shows and segments made me realize how scripted most reality shows are. Charlie Brooker did a great bit on how editing of reality shows can craft a narrative. In Holland there was a Dutch version of Pimp My Ride. A player of a football team we played against had his car pimped. The car didn't even make it home. He had to call the car repair service on his way back from the studio. My friend was on Maid. It was actually pretty genuine, except she didn't have anything she genuinely wanted to be made into and just chose something she thought sounded interesting. She did work really hard at it during the show, though. The show wanted her to act like the outcast of her siblings, and portrayed them as a bit bitchy when they aren't, and like they always leave her out when in reality they're all very close, but aside from that it was mostly all real. I do recall not knowing MTV was there one day. I'm friends with her siblings as well, so I kind of ran into the room they were filming in to ask her what she was doing. The producers wanted me to sign a form and come in again asking her the same question, but this time have her explain her progress to me. I felt bad for ruining their shot, but said no because I didn't want to be on TV. My brother was on X Factor UK. There are several rounds before the televised rounds, so all those rubbish acts you see on TV have been picked by producers to go through. I've also been in the audience of The Voice and X Factor, and they make you do loads of fake cheering, dancing and clapping before the show starts so they can cut it into the actual show. 90% of the cheering you see/hear on the televised shows have been added in post-production. My sister's friend's family was on House Hunters several years ago, and everything about it was staged. They had already decided on the house before the show even started filming, and other two options that the couple was considering were found afterwards. They filmed a bunch of fake conversations between the family members to make it seem like they were still making up their minds. The thing is, this was a Latino family, and every member struggled heavily with English. The conversation scenes were obviously forced, as these people were just stumbling their way through scripted English sentences, and it was obvious that they would have been having the conversation in Spanish if they were on their own. The issue was so bad that I'm surprised they even aired the episode. Obligatory not me but my cousin, she was on Hell's Kitchen and said that they would film for over 10 hours on a day, then would go to sleep around 11 p.m. only to get woken up at 2 a.m. to film again to make them more irritable. The producers would purposely bring up topics to create drama within the chefs. They re-tapped when they answered the door in the beginning a couple times to make them seem more surprised. They portrayed my cousin as the classic hot blonde. It was certainly more of a reality TV show than a cooking show. Deleted. Deleted. My brother was just in another reality TV show that aired a few days ago. It's the third or fourth he's been in. Without giving too many details so he wouldn't get in trouble and so the show won't get ruined too early, it's insanely fake. He was given a new name and backstory, and even his wife in the TV show is some random actress he's never met that is married to someone else. They set up 90% of the stuff in his house specifically for the show. The only real parts of the show are his dogs and his houses in the house itself. A lot of details were changed. And NBSP. It's not even just this show that is super fake. As I said before, he's been in several and all of them have done the same thing. The first one I remember him on was Room Raiders, pretty old now, but it was on MTV back in like '04 or around then. They did use his room, but they staged almost everything. All the significant things that the girl would comment on or look at were all placed there by the crew, so it was all pre-planned and fake. My mate was on tattoo fixers. If you don't know what it is, basically they get people in with tattoos they regret and make a design they don't tell them about, tattoo it on and cover the old one up and surprise them at the end. He filmed the big surprise reveal like 5 times because he wasn't surprised enough. A colleague of mine was on a weight loss show, and a few of us from work were involved in it. The producers called and asked if they could interview me about my colleague. They filmed the presenter coming to my door, and introducing himself to me, about 5 times. Never told me what to say or anything though. Not sure about my colleague, but would guess her and her family were interviewed many times with the same questions till they edited together the answers they wanted. I went into the porn star's shop when I was in Las Vegas. They have a line on the sidewalk to get in, bouncers at the door, and none of the cast in the store. The place is pretty much packed all the time, so my guess is that if someone brings an really interesting item in, then employees have them come back in a week and clear out the store for filming. Either that, or none of the items are actually from real customers. I worked with this guy who was on a TV show in England. He said the show producers would tell him he would get more airtime if he was cheating on his partner instead of just being happy with his girlfriend. They just love the drama and don't care what it costs. I was on this morning when I was about 7 and they did a big makeover for me and my siblings. The premise they created was that we were a nightmare and my poor mum just wanted us to look smart for an upcoming christening. The main part I remember was them telling us to jump in the mud and shout no when our mum asked us to stop. Normally we wouldn't have dared, so I remember that being fun. Oh, and my sister ruined her hair 3 times before going on stage, so they made us hold her hand so she couldn't touch it. Deleted. My boss was on a certain reality TV show as a guest judge. In the episode, one of the contestants sprained got injured. My boss was nice and all concerned, but they edited in a shot of her laughing, that was actually laughing at someone's joke from earlier. The filming session for that scene was 10 hours long. They edited it down to about 5 minutes. With that much footage, you can edit it into just about anything you want. Edit. I thought it also might be worth stating that these reality shows hire scriptwriters. But people misunderstand this. They don't actually hand contestants scripts. The staff, especially the editing staff, uses it to build a story out of the hundreds of hours of footage they take. I imagine they have a direction they want to head in before they interview contestants, and then they build the story however they want to out of what actually happens. Edit 2, I went and watched the episode again, and on the other hand I do want to follow up that of the things that I can fact check about the episode, there were plenty of things that weren't exaggerated and the contestants were just that spazzy anyway. And the majority of the way my boss, at the time, was portrayed was accurate to what happened and her character. But, while it wasn't the majority of the content, I found at least one example of manipulated content. Also, I was participating in the shoot, and there is one part when you can see my hands, but they edited it to look like it was this really pretty girl we had in our staff. They totally edited me out completely. LOL. Edit 3, made some of the details less specific. Just in case. Sorry, but it's pretty obvious what I am talking about. With